I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is TortureCast.
It's Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, and this is episode 278 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me in a little bit of a grumble session, I guess you could say, is Eric Nathanson, man. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good. The Giants are, I'm just tired of watching bad baseball. But hey, they won 5 games straight, so I'm doing much better because I'm going to live with that for all year. But 11-17, I'm having a tough time right now watching the Giants in general. How's it going over there?
Oh, it's going just fine. Just busy as always. Sorry for the break in recording. If you didn't know from last episode, I was out on a 2-week research expedition for work. Got back last week, and so we were able to kind of align schedules and record today. A lot has transpired since we last recorded, but we're not going to go through everything. We'll just go through the recent stuff. And like you just mentioned, the Giants are 11-17, and you know, when they were sitting down there at, 5-11 and 6-11, we were kind of getting a little bit upset, 5-13, 6-13, whatever it was. Then they reeled off 5 in a row, and they were suddenly only 2 games under 500 and only 2.5 back because, let's be honest, the West is underperforming this year so far, which is a great thing for the Giants, obviously. If they were in the Central or the East right now, they'd be much further back. But, just 4 or 5 days ago, less than a week ago, they were 2.5 games back, and you're like, you know what? Look, crappy April. It's not the end of the world. There's going to be a couple of under 500 months. They're fine. They're in this thing. And then they decided to crap the bed once again, and now they've since lost 4 in a row. They're now 6 games under 500, and now they're 5 games back of the Dodgers, who finally overtook Arizona, and they've been off to a slow start as well. So I guess the bright side, Eric, is that it is the National League West that's underperforming, so they're, quote, only 5 games back. The bad news is that the Dodgers are not going to continue at this level. They're going to streak at some point. San Diego's going to streak at some point. Arizona's a lot better this year. So, I mean, the Giants, if they don't turn things around soon, and if their May is like April, they're going to be more than 10 games back. And that's the problem. They're going to bury themselves so quickly that, I don't know, you could see this team having a fire sale by the All-Star break.
Yeah, it's leading that direction because after winning 5 straight, there was the thought, oh, okay, they're in this, they possibly can. And then they went to Mexico and in 2 games got outscored 22-15 by the Padres and lost both those games, and all those good feelings were gone. I mean, you just look at the stats, it doesn't look good for they're 2-3 in one-run games. So out of all those games, they've only played 5 one-run games.
Yeah.
But they're 3-8 in blowouts. Meaning they've lost 8 games already by 5 or more runs.
Woo.
And that is not the mark of a good team. And that's really what scares me right there. And it makes me think you could be right. We could be looking at a fire sale down the road here if they can't get it together in May.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've noticed that too. I didn't know the stats, but I noticed they've been losing a lot of blowouts. And even last year at their 500 record, and even the 2020 season, they didn't lose a lot of games via the blowout. And they always kept games close. And that's why they kind of, I guess, were always hovering around 500. And of course, they had 107 wins, which they led in like blowouts. They outscored everyone. And that's a huge concern because obviously they've been outscored for the year by a lot. Not like Oakland A's a lot, but a lot. And they're really struggling with their bullpen. And that's their primary weakness right now. I'm not saying if they had an average bullpen, they'd be in first place. They'd have at least 3 more wins if their bullpen was just, quote, average, middle of the pack. And that's been a huge sore spot for them because we talked about it in the season preview. That was something that was a weakness last year at 500, and they addressed it with what looked like on paper an improvement to the bullpen. And so far, statistically, it's been an absolute regression. And I don't know if you can place your finger on anything. I mean, I know a lot of the fans out there keep going, Gabe Kapler does not know how to handle a bullpen. I'm tired of that story. Okay, guys? I'm tired of that. These are professional players. When they go out there, yeah, they have to be put in a situation to succeed. This is not 100% on the manager, guys. Come on. There's just sometimes you go out there and they're just crap in the bed. And so you got Taylor Rogers struggling. Sean Jelly, of course, is brand new, but he's struggling. And the whole bullpen really is as a whole is just not good. Camilo Duvall struggle a little bit in some certain situations. Tyler struggle a little bit. Is there anything you can place your finger on, or is it just an outlier month? Because you know how throughout the season, especially like the 107 win season, you know, they had a winning month every month, but it seems like every year you just gotta have your ups and downs, and maybe they're having their down month in the beginning. Or is this who the Giants really are?
I think it's who the Giants really are. I mean, even Camilo struggled. He's had problems with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
Tyler Rogers is literally the only bullpen piece that's been really good, and he's been solid just about every time out. Taylor, I gotta say, he started off like crap. He's looked a lot better lately. But when you bring in Sean Jelly into the game, you're waving the white flag. He is the human white flag this season. When they bring Jelly in, you know the game's over.
Yeah, he's been a
And
little bit
they
of
had
a
to bring him
T.
into like, yeah, they bring him in for a tie game the other day, and he blew it. And it was the one chance they finally brought him in when they weren't down 4 runs. So, you know, even when they get their chances, they're not doing it. I mean, they Tristan Beck's been kind of thrown to the wolves so far since he's joined it.
Yeah.
They did not really do much to improve the bullpen as much as we thought they might have. It's all the same names except for Taylor Rogers, basically. So, you know, I guess expecting them to be better was, you know, maybe kind of an outside chance because we thought it was possible, but it is the biggest problem. And you got Sean Manaea and Ross Stripling who don't know what their roles are. And I'm with you. I'm not going to necessarily I'm going to blame management for not defining roles, but you know these players also do have to perform when it is their time to perform, and they're not doing that either. And I think it's
Yeah.
just a talent disparity. I just don't think the Giants are as talented as other teams. I mean, they've got Logan Webb, who they signed to the $90 million extension, same contract as Hunter once upon a time, I believe, and he's 1-5 with a 4.1 ERA, and he's given up 20 runs in 37 innings. I mean, if none of your pitching is getting it done, you're not going to be able to win games, which is why they're falling behind so much. And the bullpen just can't bring them back into games. They can't hold the line ever.
Yeah.
And when you can't keep yourself alive and you can't keep yourself in games, you're going to lose games by 5, 6, 7 runs, and that's why they're 11-17. I mean, because they're third in the league in homers, they hit the crap out of the ball, but this bullpen's killing them.
Yeah, they're 11th in OPS. They're third in home runs, 19th in batting average. Yeah, whatever. ERA is 24th overall, but their starters are 7th at 3.66. So their starters are doing fine. The relievers 6.4. That's 28th in the league, guys. I mean, and like you said, when the Giants have a lead or they're a game behind or a run behind or it's tied and the bullpen comes in, it's like, okay, hold on to your butts. Here we go. And it's not like they give up another run or two to get behind or have the game tied. It's like everything falls apart. I mean, they just allow a 3 spot, a 4 spot. Last night, a 5 spot in the 7th inning.
Yep.
And you're like, that's the game. That's the game. And it's just so crushing for fans. I'm sure the players themselves are like, well, crap, we got 2 innings left to come back from 5 runs down or 4 runs down, right? It's just, it puts them in such a hole, and the offense can't make up that deficit. So, I mean, it'd be great. Hey, if the Giants were playing 5-inning games, their record might actually be above 500 right now.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. How many games have they gotten the hits and gotten the runs early, and then they just stop scoring?
They
I feel
stop
like
scoring. It's the weirdest thing,
all
man.
the time. It's so frustrating to watch them with that. I mean, so many times they get a lead like 4-0, 5-0 early in the game. And we saw it against Kansas City, they blew
Yeah.
it. We saw it against the Padres, they blown it. We saw it against Houston. I mean, it was a 1-run game, but they blew it. You know, it doesn't seem to matter who the team is. They just stop hitting the ball. I don't understand how that happens.
Yeah, and I want to kind of talk about last night. I talked about the 5-run 7th that the Astros had. Look, the Astros are the defending World Series champs, and yeah, they're not doing as well right now. They're out of Altuve and a couple other guys. Willie's buddy Ty texted us last night, and he was actually during Maricio Dubon's 20-game hitting streak. He started texting us at like the 14th game, he's like, dude, your little doobie is amazing. He's a great backup for Altuve. And he's just fallen in love with him. A lot of the fans have embraced him, much in the same way that the Giants fans embraced him. We all know that he grew up being a Giants fan. I think he was, is he from Honduras, or I have the country wrong? I always forget.
Yeah, it was Honduras.
I think it was Honduras. He grew up a Giants fan, always wanted to play for the Orange and Black. There's all those pictures of him at Oracle Park when he was a teenager and a kid. You know, he loved Lincecum and these guys. And then he got his chance in the sun, and it just didn't work out. And I know a lot of the fans were a little bit upset last year. I was actually upset, not from a strategic point of view. I understand why the Giants had to do it. And a lot of it is the way they've managed their ball club. They make so many acquisitions, trades, and movements. Sometimes the pieces don't align at the right time. You know, the stars are just not aligned. And usually Farhan's a master at that, with all the chess pieces on the board moving all the time. But he got into a corner last year where Dubon was out of options, and they had Tommy La Stella coming back and Evan Longoria coming back. And so the questions were, out of the infielders, who were they going to get rid of? And the other options were Estrada and Lamont Wade Jr. So I'm going to ask the Giants fans out there right now who are complaining and thinking that Farhan doesn't know what the hell he's doing by getting rid of Dubon last year. Would you have rather have gotten rid of Wade, which, by the way, he's killing the ball right now? He's tied for the team lead in home runs, and he's like 6th in the major leagues in OPS. Or would you like to have gotten rid of Estrada, who is, 8 stolen bases, and he's hitting, he's 6th in the National League in batting right now, and he's got a higher batting average than Maricio Dubon and playing a good second base, right? So the reality is they were either going to have to DFA him and get nothing for him since he was out of options. And what they did was they traded him. Yeah, they traded him to Michael Papierski, I still can't say his name, who ended up playing 5 games for the Giants. But it's one of those trades where they had to get something for him. They didn't want to get nothing for him. So don't look at what the value they got back for him. Look at it from the perspective of they had very limited options, guys. And I know now you're going to say, well, they should have gotten rid of Tommy La Stella because they did at the end of the season. I get it. But they couldn't do it at the time. He still had half the season left, plus a year. And yeah, at the end of the year, they ended up saying, okay, we're done with this guy. He's just injured all the time. He's worth just eating the contract. But you couldn't make that call at the time, Eric. Am I wrong here? Am I missing something, or is that just the logical move? And it was unfortunate because I love Maricio Dubon. The energy that he brought was amazing. His youthful smile, the fact that he was a Giants fan. But the reality is he just didn't perform well on the field. He was dropping balls, getting thrown out, making dumb plays, making errors. He didn't add a lot of value to the Giants at that time over a Lamont Wade Jr. or a Estrada.
I mean, it shows with what Lamont's done so far this year, with how his batting approach has gotten him on base so much. Dubon is the human version of Toot Blaine because he gets thrown out on the bases like a nincompoop
Yeah, he does.
more than anybody else. And it was so frustrating when he was a Giant because he was a dumb player. There's no other way to say it. He was just a dumb player. And do I think that's changed now that he's in Houston? No. He just got a shot because Altuve's injured.
Yeah.
When Altuve's back, he's going to be riding the pine again. And nobody's going to even be talking about Maricio Dubon. And this sounds like I'm crapping on him, but I'm not really. It's just he's doing what he can with what he's given. But that's all he can do. He's not going to take it and run with it. He's not going to become the next superstar. The reason the Giants got rid of him is they saw more in Wade and Estrada than they did in Dubon. They saw coachable moments in Wade and Estrada they didn't see in Dubon.
Yep.
So that's what it comes down to. And for him to be bitter like he is towards the Giants after not performing for the Giants and thinking he didn't get a fair shake, that's crap. He got a fair shake. I don't really back management a lot lately, but I kind of do in this one because look at what they picked. You said it. Estrada is like 6th or 7th in batting, and Wade Jr. is a walk machine. Like I literally want him. If they do a players weekend, his uniform needs to be Lamont Walk Jr. because if it's out of the zone, that guy is not swinging at it. And let me tell you what, Mauricio Dubon's not doing that. That guy will swing at his head. He'll swing at his ankles. It doesn't matter. So I have no regrets for what they did with Dubon. Yes, he happened to beat them last night, but you know what? The Astros are a much better team than the Giants. So
Yeah.
they're probably going to find out a way to win 2 or 3 games every time.
Yeah, I mean, Dubon had a great game last night. He had 3 hits. He scored their first run, knocked in the tying run, and then knocked in the go-ahead run, the eventual game winner, with a double in the 7th. So yeah, he had a wonderful game last night, and that's going to happen. But fans, you can't point to that one game and say, "See, I told you so." He's not going to get 3 hits every game. We know this, right? He's hitting like 317 right now. He's a career 250 whatever hitter, which is not bad in today's league. There's no doubt about that. But he's going to regress to his mean, guys. This is early in the season. And like you pointed
Yep.
out, once Altuve comes back, he's going to be back to being a bench player anyway. So it's not that the Astros are recognizing him as an everyday player. He's an everyday player right now because he's filling in for Altuve. And look, I know Dubon felt great about what he did last night, and the quotes already came out, and that's what's all the buzz on social media last night and today. But here's a couple of his quotes. One of the reporters asked him, because we haven't gotten to it yet, but Brandon Crawford is injured right now, one of their infielders. He said, with the amount of injuries they have, frankly, the Giants could probably use you right now. Does that add to it? Dubon, quote, "Thank God they don't. Thank God they don't. I'm good here. I'm good here. It's been a family, and I'm enjoying every moment." And then additionally, and then he said, "With Dusty here now, I'm in heaven." And I get it. I mean, Dusty's a player's manager, so he's putting him out there. Then he came back and doubled down. And he said, "Oh, here I am." Oh yeah, Dubon didn't hold back, telling reporters that his teammates knew, quote, "what it meant to me to beat these guys," and adding that in San Francisco he was, quote, "not treated the right way." Okay, well,
What?
yeah, you'd think I would have gotten, or you'd think I would probably get more playing time, he said when asked to elaborate. "With Dusty Baker here now, I'm in heaven." Look, every player who doesn't get the playing time that they seek could interpret that as like, they didn't treat me right. You have guys like Kevin Gausman, who actually did not want to leave the Giants, and he spoke very highly even after he wasn't re-signed by the Giants, saying, "Man, that is a class organization. They know how to treat their players." And he told other people, other pitchers, "Go there. It's a wonderful place." So it depends on, your perspective and what prism you're looking through. But for all the fans that are upset about this, he's been part of the Giants organization since 2019. So over 3 plus 4 seasons, he just didn't do it, Eric. He's 28 years old. He's not gonna learn now. And yeah, he's having a wonderful month with the Astros. I guarantee you check his stats at the All-Star break this year, and they're going to be just totally pedestrian once again. And you're not going to think that he's the second coming of, Robbie Thompson or something like that.
Well, it does bring to mind the question, though, because I feel like we go through this. We went through this with Matt Duffy. We're going through this with
Yeah.
Dubon. What is it about Giants fans that they can't let go of a player? And I'm not trying to call out the fan base here. It's a legit question. I'm curious to know. And anybody listening to this wants to get in touch with us and tell us why people fall so in love with these guys. Is it social media? I mean, Dubon, it was the Honduras thing. Duffy, it was the fat cat.
Yeah.
It was all those kinds of things. We all loved Dubon's pictures from when he was a kid at Oracle. Granted, it wasn't Oracle back then, but
No.
we all thought that was a great part of the story. And I think that, I mean, for some reason though, Giants fans, they sink their teeth into somebody and they can't let go. And Doobie's just another one of those guys. And I don't know if it's a grass is greener mentality, because it seems to be, but that happens a lot with Giants fans. I bet we could go through a list of like 10 names of people that the Giants fans hung on to more than we needed, when every move at the time made sense. So, Doobie, let him have his moments. Good for you, buddy. But your Astros winning a World Series last year, I would think that was a bigger deal. And,
Yeah.
I would think that that's what you're playing for anyways.
He got a ring already, so I mean, good for him. I'm actually happy for
Right?
DB. I'm not a big fan of the
Yeah, I
quotes,
like the
but
kid. He's
you know,
right.
he
But
seems a
he's
little
got to motivate
salty.
himself. You know what? We both were athletes. We totally understand motivation. And if this is what Doobie needs to motivate himself, I get it. I get it. Use it. Do what you got to do. I totally get it.
Yeah.
It just sucks that we have to hear about it.
Yeah, and that 7th inning rally, by the way, there was a walk to start the inning, but the 4 hits in the inning, here's their exit velocity. 79.8, 71.6, 66.3, and 69.4. I mean,
Oh my God.
come on. It's not like the Giants were getting scorched. So But this is what happens with a bad team. Bad luck just kind of exacerbates everything else, right?
Well,
You get into that
the
kind of
same thing happened
situation.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
On Sunday, they were playing a close game, and then finally they walked the leadoff batter, and the guy came around to score, and the Padres won the game. It's excuse me. That's like it goes right back to the bullpen again. I mean, it's not that Doobie beat us; it's that the bullpen blew it again.
Yeah, we had that
But
double
those
by the
exit velocities, that's
Padres.
so bad.
I know. That double by the Padres, which gave them the lead, and they'd already tied it, and that walk scored, had a 6% hit
Hmm.
chance probability. So, and that's also to throw salt in the wound. That's how Mike Yastrzemski busted his hamstring. He was streaking in for that ball, and it hit his glove. He almost got it, but he didn't. And so he said it popped like on the second step, but he was like, well, I might as well go out in a blaze of glory kind of thing. And he went for it, and he almost got it, and it would have saved, not saved the game necessarily, it would have saved the tie. But yeah, it's frustrating. You know, the Giants are getting victimized by a bad bullpen and a little bit of bad luck. And they had a horrible April, you know, going 11-16, and now they've started May 0-1. So it's bad. And that Mexico City series was fun to watch in terms of the fan base. But man, was that just a home run derby, that first game? I mean, first of all,
Oh,
the line was what, 329 down the lines, but it's at 7,300 feet. So the estimate, the physics calculation is that balls travel approximately 15% further in Mexico City in that air. So you're talking about a 400-foot home run now goes about 470 feet. And that kind of explains why Brandon Crawford mysteriously hit one 480 feet to slightly the opposite field, which was a great sequence, by the way. I was watching the game live when he yanked one down the line, and the replay showed that it just snuck in front of the foul pole to be foul. And he comes back. He'd already trotted the bases, comes in the dugout, does his high fives. They say, that's a foul ball. He comes back. Very next pitch, he hits it 480 feet to left center, and he does the trot again. It reminded me of the Michael Morse kind of thing, where it was like, okay, fake
oh my God,
your
that was
home run
great.
trot, right? So, but the balls were just flying. They combined for 11 home runs. I mean, if I told you, Eric, that the Giants scored 11 and hit 5 home runs, you'd be like, oh yeah, well they won the game. No, they lost by 5. It's
They
like, what?
lost by 5.
It's like, what? And it was
That
back and
wasn't. I
forth.
gotta tell you, it wasn't fun to watch. I mean, it was cool that they kept hitting the homers, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a Giants fan. I'm like, well, eventually the Padres will hit more, and they
Mm-hmm.
did.
And they
You know
did.
that
And I saw a lot again chatter on social media going, why aren't these guys throwing strikes? They're nibbling. And it's like, yeah, if you were playing on a T-ball field, you'd nibble too, dude. Like, that's, come
Yep.
on. Breaking balls don't break. And anything left out over the plate is getting, just a pop fly is a home run, right? We saw that. I mean, normal pop flies were
Yeah.
going out for home runs. It was just ridiculous. Additionally to the thin air, they weren't really using the correct humidor. So the ball was not saturated. And so the ball was, it was a golf ball. It was a freaking golf ball. And plus the turf was extremely fast. It was artificial infield. And the players are complaining that the ball just shot through. I mean, they like had no chance on some of these balls. So, you know, it is what it is. They're playing on a high school ball field dimensions at elevation with a dry, hard ball. I mean, it was a perfect recipe for that. And I tell you, if they ever had a major league team play in that stadium, they would lead the league in home runs every year. There's no doubt. They'd dwarf Colorado probably, you know? At least Colorado has a big field and a humidor. But this did not. So it was fun. It was good to showcase Major League Baseball to Mexico. But I mean, the Giants had leads of like 8-4 and 11-10, and it was back and forth at ping ponged until the Padres, like you said, finally just broke through. And it was like Soto and Machado and the normal guys that are, you know, just hitting it out. Like opposite field pop flies.
Tatis
Just
hit
carrying
that
it out.
opposite field pop up. Yep,
Yeah.
that was the one. I think that was the backbreaker where it was just a normal pop up. And you mentioned the humidors; they did dial it back for the next game, which explains why Sunday's game wasn't as high scoring.
Yeah.
But again, it's so funny. It all goes back to the bullpen. Again, they walked somebody. That guy scored. They lost the game. Yaz on that dive, he had the ball.
Yeah.
I legit think that if he didn't hit the ground at the exact same moment that the ball hit his glove, he would have squeezed it. But because his wrist hit the ground at the moment the ball hit the glove, he couldn't squeeze around it, and that's why it popped out like that.
Yeah, I think you could be
So
right.
they had a chance, and I appreciate him giving his hamstring for the Giants. It's just, you gave your hamstring for the Giants, dude. It's not like you gave your hamstring for the Mets or the Braves or the Astros.
Well, and Yaz has been playing well, so that was really unfortunate. He's been much better than he was, most of last year, and we were hoping that maybe he could stay consistent at that level. But now they have Crawford and Yaz on the shelf, and it was great. They had just gotten Haniger and Slater back, and they had immediate impact in Mexico. It was fantastic. But it just old age, injuries, it's hitting them again. So now they have guys up like Cal Stevenson, and Brett Wisely, who's 1 for 20 so far. And, these guys you can't cut it. They're just fill-ins. They're scrubs at this point, and it's hard. I mean, I'm happy for them. They're getting their major league cup of coffee, but it's not helping the team at all. It's just a body on the roster.
Cal Stevenson will be the 35th guy to take the field for the Giants already this season.
Yeah.
They're already at 34 players. I mean, that just goes to show you. I mean, we had we made that trade for Matt Beatty, and now he's basically gone,
Yeah.
Bryce Johnson, he's completely disappeared from the face of the earth after his concussion. It still lists 7-day concussion.
Yeah, he's still having issues. Yeah.
But it's been like a month. So, we keep getting the rant. And Blake Sable, with the amount of he's getting so much playing time right now. I think you wrote in the notes, has a Rule 5 catcher ever gotten this much playing time? And it's a great question because the guy is playing just about every day. Bart is now showing that he's kind of injury prone.
Yep.
He went on the shelf early in the year, and he tweaked something last week. And so Sable caught 4 days in a row for the first time. And specifically in that Mexico series, it was ugly. Like, he was stabbing at the ball. He was missing pitches that were hitting him right in the pocket. It was very frustrating to see. So the Giants are a bunch of replacement level players. That's why we have Brett Wisely and Cal Stevenson and things like that, because, we're running into guys going down so quickly. I mean, so many IL stints already this year for everybody.
Yeah.
Jock's been down once already. Yaz, down now. Crawford down now. Estrada was even hurting a little bit. But, J.D. Davis and Lamont Wade Jr. are like the only two that have stayed healthy so far this entire season in the out of the regular players. And that's kind of an issue.
Yeah. No, for sure. And to address, I'm just going to skip up in the notes a little bit because I wanted to address the catcher position since you brought up Sable. I mean, I like the guy's enthusiasm. He had an incredible walk-off home run against the Cardinals closer, and that was like his first walk-off he had given up in his career. And it was a 2-strike count, right? It was wonderful. It was great.
Yep.
And everyone's going to have his day. Every dog's going to have his day, and Sable had his day there. But overall, he's obviously been underperforming for what you would want in a catcher. He's been very streaky, but defensively, he's been extremely questionable. But again, what do you expect from a Rule 5 guy, right? Like, this is just who he is, and he's learning kind of on the job. He's been thrown into the fire, and they started with a wealth of catching. We talked about it. It was like, oh my God, they have so many catchers. Who are they going to have on the roster? And they had to get rid of certain guys. And in fact, since we recorded last time, they freaking DFA'd Austin Wynns. He declined the minor league assignment, and then ended up going to the Dodgers, and he's playing for them now.
Nope, DFA'd.
Oh, was he DFA'd by them now?
Isn't that hysterical? He's already been DFA'd by them.
Oh well, okay. I missed that. So he was on the Dodgers for a hot second. Roberto Perez, of course, injured his shoulder in the beginning of the season, so he's out for the entire year. So now they're down to Blake Sable, a Rule 5, and then Joey Bart, who's just been inconsistent, injured. We don't know what the hell is going with this guy. He's clearly not on Farhan's long-term plan, being from the previous, regime. And now you have Patrick Bailey, who was a high draft pick, their number 1 a few years ago, who's been promoted to Sacramento. And so, I don't know. I mean, he's not coming up next week, but he's one foul tip away from coming up. Bart goes down the IL. Sable goes on the IL. Who else are they getting, right? Unless they sign some guy, some free agent somewhere, that they seem to pull out of the weeds or conduct some trade.
Well, they did, and I was waiting for the news yesterday. Gary Sanchez, you remember they signed him.
I did forget about him.
And I cannot find any news on whether or not, because he had like an opt-out date of May 1st.
It was May 1st, yeah.
And today's May 2nd, so.
Well, they were talking about that with Susan Slusser, and they asked her about that, saying, hey, it's May 1st. What's going on with Gary Sanchez? And she said, guys, remember, it's an option. He has the option to opt out of his contract by May 1st. And typically, you only do that if you have interest from other teams. So if you read between the lines, if he decides to stay with the Giants, he's not getting a lot of interest from other teams. So he's like, plus, again, he recognizes that along with Patrick Bailey, he might be a foul tip away from getting called up, So
It's you know what, he obviously didn't exercise the option, or else we would have
yeah.
heard about it by now. So he obviously is going to stick with he's their last backup plan at catcher. I mean, Perez is gone for the year. Like you said, Wins has been DFA. It's got to be Gary Sanchez. I bet we see him within the next month.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. And he's been a good hitting catcher, strikes out a lot, hits bombs, but he didn't do well with Minnesota after New York, so maybe he's he's past his prime, shall we say. Another reclamation project.
But like going back to Blake Sable, Sable's not a reclamation project. He's just a project straight up. And it's frustrating to see your major league team have to start a Rule 5 draftee like that every game of the season. And I think it's hurting them. I really do. Taylor Rogers was ready to go kick him in the ass on Sunday. Sable just was not. He was taking pitches from him and everything. And it was really tough to do. But I mean, Sable's not the only one struggling. He's one you expect to struggle. He's just gotten thrown into the fire more than he needs to. It's guys like VR who are struggling that it's like, wait a second, I thought you were supposed to be our everyday third baseman. Sable, I'm willing to give latitude with. I just like you, I'm concerned about on the injury front. So, he's fun, but he doesn't necessarily always get the job done. But we don't have any other choices right now. No. But you got a guy like VR struggling. I mean, you got Casey Schmidt in the minors waiting to come in. JD Davis has taken the third base job from VR and played outstanding defensively as well as offensively.
JD Davis has been a stud.
Him and Yaz and Estrada. That's the team right there. Those are the three best players the Giants have been putting out there on a regular basis. And now to have Yaz go down and JD and Tyro have been playing well, but that's the extent of it. So you got like VR. So what do you do there? So they're constantly having to juggle with these young guys and what they're going to do with them. And it's frustrating. The catcher position shows its face. The third base position shows its face. And the outfield. I mean, we have Brett Wisely playing center field instead of Mike Yastrzemski. That's not a Major League Baseball.
Not at all. Not at all. And, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was, the IL. Obviously, we just hit a few things. But, Darren Ruff. I mean, talk about one of the trades that really worked out well for the Giants in the sense of the guy that they got him for is tearing it up right now in JD Davis, who you just mentioned. And then they get Darren Ruff back after he gets DFA'd by the Mets. And granted, he's on the 10-day IL right now. But I just think that's hilarious that's something like that happened. And I wonder about Darren Ruff because he obviously struggled with New York. He never even hit a home run with New York in his time there. And he hit a buck whatever. So, I mean, I wonder if this is one of those things like a Pablo Sandoval where he just plays well with the Giants. He's like their home team and he's comfortable here. And we have yet to see how he's going to perform this year. He hasn't had enough reps, but that'd be great if he could contribute like he did back in 2021. If they have a JD Davis and a Darren Ruff producing at those levels, it'd be fantastic. And then there would be a feather in Farhan's cap that no one likes to talk about. But, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, watching Ruff come back and just they won that trade. Like, we always joke, who won this trade, who won that trade. They obviously won that trade completely outright since Ruff came back. And the Mets don't seem to care either.
No.
Because they're just going on doing their thing. It might be the thing with Ruff. But again, Ruff's our cast off and here he is coming back. So, like, some guys, Farhan seems to just have I almost said that the wrong way. Some guys Farhan seems to really like. Some guys he'll bring around as much as possible, and Ruff seems to be one of those guys. It's fun to see him do well again. I liked Darren Ruff during the season, but like we've talked about, that was his one big year. That's the way it's going to be.
No, he's not. He's not going to repeat 2021 or anything like that.
Oh God, no! I mean, they gave him that contract right after it too, and then they ended up trading him 4 months later to only have him get DFA'd and come back. I like Ruff, but again, we're talking about pieces on the perimeter of a below 500 team, not giant pieces like a Carlos Correa or an Aaron Judge who might have helped this team. win a few more games than they're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to. Is I mean, I can't blame I can't blame the players for performing at the best of their ability, but I do blame management for not getting better players.
We can say that. We can agree on that. Other injuries, of
Yes.
course. Alex Wood, he hurt himself. I guess he caught a cleat while he was delivering a pitch, so he's out with a hammy. He had a bullpen session on Saturday, and he's supposed to have his simulated game today. So we'll see if he comes back here in the next week. Because when he's on, he's on. He's a good pitcher, and he's fast. He's a fast worker. We'll see what happens with that. But again, like you said, 35 players with Cal Stevenson already after a team that set the record for 66 players on the roster last year. I mean, they're on pace to do that already. They've added 9 additional players in a month.
Right, per month.
Crazy.
So 9 times 6, yeah, exactly. So 9 times 6, we're looking at 54 additional players on top of the 26 who started.
I know,
that would
right?
be 80. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And other transactions, I wouldn't say long-time Giant, but he's been up and down with the Giants for the last few years. Sam Long was traded to the A's for cash. Tristan Beck, which you mentioned, made his major league debut. Brett Wisely made his MLB debut and got his first hit. That's still his only hit in 20 at-bats. Yep. So it's bad all around. So, I mean, look, I already mentioned some of the team leaders. I guess it's good to point out that Tyro Estrada is 4th in the National League in batting average at .333. J.D. Davis and Lamont Wade lead the team with 6 home runs. J.D. Davis, 17 RBIs, and OPS Wade Jr., the walk machine, is 6th in the National League. His OPS is over 1,000. It's 1018, which is great. And then Estrada, he hasn't had stolen bases in a few games, but he's still 7th in the National League with 8 stolen bases. So again, he's on pace for easily 30, 40 stolen bases this year. And if he hits,
right, he's looking at like a 20-30 year. He's got
that's
4
what I was
bombs and
thinking.
8 bags.
Yeah, if he pops another 20 like he did last year, he could have a good 20-30 season, maybe even a 20-40 season. So, and that's nothing to shake a stick at in this day and age of baseball. I mean, it's gonna be hard pressed to find another 30-30, 40-40 guy. Those are gonna become rarer and rarer. But no, it's cool to see with stolen bases kind of making a surge back. They're already up quite a bit in Major League Baseball because of the rule changes. But yeah,
so speaking of the rule changes, I know we didn't mention this, but I just wanted to ask you quickly. Do you even notice the pitch clock when you're watching the game? I don't really notice it. I don't really notice the rules changes. I'll be perfectly honest.
So I admit that when they announced the changes, and we could go back and listen to those podcasts, I was not a fan. I wasn't angry about it. I wasn't shaking my fist at the clouds. I was just wondering how the time pressure was going to affect the pitchers in terms of their longevity and endurance, right? Because these guys can really labor. It is a sport of endurance for the pitcher. And if you're kind of squeezing that time in between pitches, it's kind of like squeezing the time in between reps if you're at the gym, right? Hitting the bench press or something like that. So I had a little bit of concern for that it was going to affect some of their endurance, but you can always offset that with better conditioning and what have you. And yeah, the reality is, Eric, a month in, it took a while kind of getting used to it. The players, they were getting called for delays here and there, getting called up for strikes like Manny Machado, and there was a couple balls here and there. Camilo Doval's really struggled with it in the beginning of the season, still struggling with it somewhat. But for the most part, I mean, you're right. Aside from seeing the little graphic in the corner now of the TV, which I still don't like seeing it, but I understand why it's there, it hasn't affected the game. Like, the pace has increased. Games are 30 minutes shorter on average. And the product of the quality of the product hasn't changed. I mean, that's the thing I think everyone has to recognize is that you've just eliminated some of the dead space. Okay, that's probably a good thing. What I think it's going to be missed is during the pennant races and in the playoffs, right? I think that's where you're not going to have those. And again, the average fan doesn't give a crap about it. It's you and me, and maybe not even you. I like sometimes when it's that cat and mouse game and the pitcher's shaking signs off and the batter steps out. And it's kind of this mental game, this little bit of a chess match. I like seeing those instances, but that's a small sacrifice, I guess, to make as a fan, as kind of a more purist, to just have faster games, cleaner games, no human rain delays, no pitcher throwing over 8 times to first base, right? So, and it also brings back a little bit more of a small ball in terms of stealing and things of that nature, which I really like. I want to see more of that. That said,
That's what got me thinking about it. Yeah, that's what got me thinking about it was Estrada and the steals. That's
Yeah.
really why I thought about this.
yeah, and stolen bases are up across the league. What's not down across the league though is freaking strikeouts. The Giants are striking at a prodigious rate, and they're third in home runs, and that's part of the equation. But it's really hard, Eric. It's really hard to watch a game that either ends in a strikeout, a walk, a home run. Those take up like more than 50% of everything, and it's frustrating. It's like I want to see some other
200.
things.
Yep, 298 Ks by the Giants, the most in baseball. 10 more than the Dodgers in 2 less games.
Yeah, I mean 298 strikeouts, 298 in less than 3 games. They're averaging what? That's 10 or 11 strikeouts a game.
Over 10 a game, yeah. 28 games, 298 strikeouts. So
Yeah.
we're talking 10.1 a game. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's more than a third of their outs that are being made just via the K, and it's just hard. It's hard. It's hard to watch. It's not quality, but it is what it is.
It isn't. That's what my issue was. That Saturday game in Mexico was hysterical. I had a tough time towards the end because the game was so long.
Yeah,
Like we don't have 4-hour games anymore, and like by the end, I'm like falling asleep because I'm just tired, and I'm like, what's going on? And it was because it was a 4-hour game where we're used to 2.5 hours at this point. So like I don't mind that. I do not mind my night being done by 9:30 with the baseball games wrapped up. It's I get a little more time with the wife. I get a little more time to hang out. It's a good balance that they found with the speeding up the games, and I don't mind it. I don't mind that at all. Like you said, the pitch clock doesn't need to be on the screen necessarily, but other than that, I don't freaking notice. I don't notice it.
No,
And,
I'm actually
I'm
a proponent for it. It's fine, especially considering like when I do want to bring my kids to the game, right? You don't have to leave in the 8th inning because it's already 10 o'clock. The game started at 6:45. If they're over in 2 to 2.5 hours, I mean, you're out of there before 10 easily, right? So it's great. There's nothing wrong with
and you
that.
don't feel like you're getting ripped off as a fan. Do you feel like you're paying the same money for less of a product? Because we get the same product. We just don't get as many dead time. It's like you said, they just cut out the filler stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to ask because we're a month into it now, and I noticed that neither of us ever mentions the new rules because we don't notice them whatsoever. So I'd say that's a good thing. I'd say baseball has a win on their hands for that one.
Yeah, I do. I think overall it's been a good thing and it's going to stay. I still don't like the ghost runner in extra innings, but that's another story. That's here. That's here to stay, except for the playoffs.
Yep.
So it's just weird to me that it's still a sport in which, well, we have this one rule during the regular season, but then we eliminate that rule for the postseason. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I've always compared it though, and this is what made
like
it
hockey
easier for me.
with
Hockey,
shootouts
the
and all
shootouts
that.
during the regular season, and then you have to play overtime in the playoffs. So
yep.
I look at it in that way because we haven't had a game over 13 innings. I don't think since the Ghost Runner was instituted. Maybe we have last year. I think there was a 16 inning, but still, it just doesn't happen often.
It just doesn't happen often. No, because one of the teams is going to score half the time, and if they don't align, it's gonna be over. So the Giants have 2 more in Houston, and they come home to face the hot Milwaukee Brewers. So it doesn't get any easier. They have a rough part of the schedule here. What's nice is that they, on that 5-game winning streak, they actually ended up taking 2 of 3 from the Mets, and then 3 or 4 from the Cardinals. Now that said, the Cardinals have really struggled this year. In fact, they just got swept by the Dodgers, so they lost 6 out of 7. Between LA and San Francisco. The Cardinals are
what a bad road trip.
Really, really struggling. And I mean, they won the Central last year, and they were my pick to win the Central this year, and they still can. But for a team that's so talented, it's I'm sure their fans and whoever's doing their podcasts are saying similar things to us, right? I mean, because this is a stinker. But I would say that they had higher expectations this year than the Giants. They're sitting at 10-19. Dead last in the Central, 10 games back, dude. 10. I mean, that's why the Giants, if they were in the Central, they'd be 9 games back, I think, right now, something like that. So I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. Giants are sitting there at 393 winning percentage. St. Louis with 345. The only team that's worse is the Colorado Rockies, of course. And that's where the Giants sit, and that's where it's really hard right now. Is the fact that. Sorry, I misread the Giants' win percentage. It's actually 393 right now. You have Colorado and St. Louis and Washington is the only teams worse than the Giants right now. That's just, oof.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Hey, could be worse. We could be the A's,
Oh, well, the A's are having an historically bad season. They're on pace for like 130 losses or something ridiculous like that. They are 6-23. That's they're
It's
winning
like the
20% of
franchise
their
is
games.
giving the middle finger. Yeah, it's like the middle finger on the way out of town. They're like, nah, screw you guys.
And as a person who kind of lived near Vegas for quite a while, and you saw kind of the Raiders move down there, I mean, it's crazy that Oakland is going to lose 3 teams so quickly, right? They got the Warriors at the height of their dynasty moving across the bay. You have the Raiders leaving for Las Vegas because they couldn't get a stadium deal worked out. And now they have the A's most likely moving to Las Vegas. A lot of details pending because once again, Oakland and the ownership could not work it out. And I'm not putting blame on anyone. I'm not smart enough to understand who's mostly to blame. I know they're both partly to blame, but I'm just sad for the fans in Oakland because, I mean, that's a gut punch, dude. I mean, could you imagine? Like, I'm
No.
I'm a Warriors. Granted, they're not like in San Jose, so it's a less of a loss when they just move across the bay. They're still there geographically, but I mean, if the Giants moved and the 49ers moved, I mean, wow, I would be pretty goddamn pissed right now.
Right? That's the thing I can't imagine out of it is just losing my team like that. Vegas will take them. They absolutely will. But I got to say, it's still going to be fans of other teams filling the ballpark. That's what happens with the Raiders games. It's
Yeah.
half Raiders fans, half fans of the other team.
I mean,
Because Vegas is a destination.
It's a destination. So people are like, see that on the schedule. And, the Chiefs fans who play them once a year in Vegas go, hey, let's see, one at Arrowhead and let's go to Vegas for a, weekend of debauchery. And, oh, yeah, see the Chiefs play the Raiders. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that, remember it was like even just 10, 20 years ago. I mean, Major League franchise in Vegas, you can't do that because of gambling. There's going to be corruption, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there's nothing to do with it, guys.
About it is basketball was the one dipping their toe into the waters in Vegas because they had their All-Star game in Vegas back in, I want to say it was 06, 07. So they were the ones that first dipped their toe in it. And here we're going to have 3 teams, the A's, the Knights, and the Raiders, and none of them are basketball.
Yep.
That's what's really funny about it is all the other sports showed up and basketball didn't even end up making the move.
I know. They'll eventually get a basketball
I'd be so
team.
pissed.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, we will. But, and I say we because Vegas is still kind of the closest big city. But, just the thing of it is as Giants fans, I could not imagine going through that. We wouldn't. I have to wonder if we would even continue doing a podcast at that point.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we don't have to worry about such a thing. Granted, I don't like ownership, but they ain't moving the team anywhere.
No, they are printing money with the park and TV revenue, and specifically their real estate development, Mission Rock. It is absolutely already printing money. It continues to be developed in the next couple of phases. I mean, that is where the Giants that's where they're making their money. And so, yeah, they're not moving anytime soon. We know that. But anywho,
I'm just so grateful. Yeah, I'm just so grateful for that. It just sucks to be an A's fan. So as bad as we have it, it could be worse. That's the one thing that's getting me through every day, Giants fans, is at least we're not the A's.
At least we're not the A's. That's the words to live by. It could be worse. Not much worse. It could be worse. Oh, man. All right. That's going to do it for episode 278 of the Torchcast. Giants got a tough week ahead, but maybe they'll surprise us. Probably not. You can follow us collectively at Torchcast. Like us on Facebook, where we put the podcast links to it. And, of course, we put everything on torchcast.com. You can follow us individually at ChadK21 for myself, at 2OutHits with the number 2 for Eric, and at Willie Dills for Willie Dills Gregory. Now, we didn't stream this podcast live today on Facebook, and we'll see if that's going to be a permanent decision or not. We'll just move forward with it. We're getting great numbers on our downloads, and we just want to thank you all for continuing to listen to our podcast despite the team's performance. So thank you for doing that for us. If you can, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Give us some ratings on iTunes or wherever you can. That would really help us out. But the numbers have been good, and you guys are definitely there for Giants content. And like we wanted to start saying at the beginning of this year, we don't say it often enough. We are the the oldest and longest lasting. Oldest doesn't sound the best, does it, Eric? That's not a good tag.
Yeah, I know it makes us sound. Yep.
We're the oldest podcast. No, we're the
Especially
longest running Giants podcast out there. We've been going since the summer, since June of 2011, Eric. That's crazy. It's 2023. We're going to hit our 12-year anniversary.
Don't make me sound older. My Willie McCovey year starts tomorrow, so
I'll be God, that's right.
Right, so I'm feeling the old. When you say it. You're right. So longest running. We are the longest running Giants podcast out there.
Not the oldest
running fan run Giants fan. Exactly.
No, it's crazy because I hit the big 5-0 later this year, and that's like such a benchmark for me. And I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm still doing this podcast. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. But hey, if you guys keep listening, we'll keep talking. So we appreciate all of our listeners, all of our downloads, and everybody who stays in touch with us. This is so much fun to do, and us being fans, bringing the show to you guys, to the fans, makes it even more special. And that's why we're the longest running Giants podcast out there.
That's right. And of course, Eric is involved with Giants Chatter, and you're still doing your Coffee in the Cove most Sundays, correct?
Yeah, I had gotten a new job recently, so I didn't have a set work schedule yet, and so I'm going to be figuring out. But Coffee in the Cove should be back this week. I don't know who my guests will be, but we're going to try to get that up and running again. So check us out over there on Giants Chatter for that.
Awesome. Yeah, continue to do that, because if you haven't joined Giants Chatter yet, here I'm promoting on the channel. We're all friends, by the way, so this is why we do this.
Yep.
And they promote us too. And Eric kind of dabbles in both. They're a really good community because they kind of only allow people in who are at least rational thinkers and not people who fly off the handle. There's a couple here and there, but for the most part, it's really well controlled and well curated. And so they've done a good job over there. So you can have good, intelligent, thoughtful, rational discussions. They also have game threads over there for every game too. They're kind of fun to join in once in a while. So
yeah, come join the game threads because they're dying because the Giants suck. We need new blood, people.
Yeah, I know, right? I noticed that usually there are like hundreds and hundreds of comments, and the other day I was in there, and I'm like, it's not as lively as it usually is. But yeah,
especially
so goes it.
Some of the scheduling. Some of it's scheduling though. Day games during the beginning of the season don't help either.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough. But that is, Giants Chatter is a place where we definitely have pretty good. We believe everybody to be a rational Giants fan until they show us otherwise.
That's right. Okay, well, that'll do it for episode 278. We'll see you next week for 279. Until then, have a great week and go Giants. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.